Good evening and good morning to all of you. Let me introduce about myself. I'm Rahul. Okay, been experienced in SAP S4HANA from past 1511 version. That is the 1511, the initial version of SAP S4HANA. I'm certified in all the versions of SAP S4HANA on-premise. Currently, I'm working as a project manager and also playing a role as a consultant for SAP Simple Finance or sorry, for SAP S4HANA Finance for all the modules. I mean to say that I'm the project manager. The core module which I'm working as a consultant is SAP S4HANA Finance. I have done totally 3 implementations in SAP S4HANA Finance. I'm talking only my experience in SAP S4HANA Finance, not in ECC. And I have done 6 migrations in SAP S4HANA. And currently, I completed 2 central finance projects actually. So, second one is almost it is in a go live phase. The first one we have done it, and the second one is the central finance. That is the go live phase. That is the 1809. So this is about my brief experience. So I'm a certified trainer from SAP AG. So you can put me off all the doubts, whatever the doubts you are going to be asking. So it's a sessions which we are going to be conducting based on the real-time examples. Okay. Yes. So how many of you know what is the basic understanding between the ECC and because see if central finance anyhow we are going to discuss more on the central finance, okay, that is going to be on top of your SAP S4HANA. We can understand that, okay, but before that, how many of you are aware about what is an SAP ECC and what is an SAP S4HANA? Okay, so why I'm telling this question here is because most of the clients they are using the heterogeneous landscape. Okay, if you see here, when you take a big automobiles company or something like when you take a product based companies, when you take automobiles companies, they are into the SAP ECC and they are going to be using some of the third party softwares to have all the postings of SAP accounting so that they can have the centralized reporting purpose. So till now, most of the clients they have not been using SAP S4HANA. Why? Because the main reason here is if they have only one single instance is nothing but server. I'm talking about the server. If they have only one single instance, that is SAP ECC, there is no a big problem to convert the SAP ECC to SAP S4HANA. Understand that this is called as a conversion. We are talking about the conversion. For example, I'm putting on the paper over here. See, for example, I'm taking an existing client. Okay, so they are into the SAP ECC. They are into the SAP ECC. So it's not a heterogeneous landscape. We are not going to be treating it as a heterogeneous landscape because they are working on single instance that is going to be called as SAP Business Suite. How many of you know what is SAP Business Suite? What is a business suite? How many of you know what is SAP Business Suite here? SAP Business Suite is nothing but your central application, your central ECC application or whatever the application you're working that lies on non SAP HANA database, means other than SAP HANA database, we call as an application called as the SAP Business Suite. See, for example, I'm taking this diagram. Okay, I'm taking out to your diagram. Then I'll correlate with your central finance now. So if you take any server, okay, we have R3 architecture that is going to be called as a real-time 3-layer architecture. The front end, we know that it is the presentation. Everybody knows that if we go for SAP ECC, PRESENTATION, presentation. And the middle layer, we call it as an application. Which application you're working? SAP ECC application might be it be a 6.0 or 7.0. We are going to be trading. Okay, so 6.0 ECC or what it may be. And the database is not a HANA database. We are working with any other database. Okay, any deep. Now, this presentation, this complete R3 architecture, we call it as a SAP Business Suite. Now, somebody can tell me just okay, be bold. Okay, so it is not just like what I'm taking an interview. Just I'm not calculating your your calibrity in the SAP ECC whatever maybe. Okay, don't take another way. Just it's an open session between you and me. So how many of you know what is SAP Business Suite here? What is the meaning of SAP Business Suite? Why should I say this presentation application and any database is called the SAP Business Suite? Anyone? Have an idea or not? Nothing. So I can discuss on this. No? Okay. So when we call it as SAP Business Suite, when your application, that is the central lever, okay, the central lever, okay, so that when your application has been resided on any other database, not on SAP HANA database, when it has been resided on any other database, then the middle layer, whatever the application you are going to be calling, it is an ECC, where we call it as a core application. We call it as a core application that is called as your SAP Business Suite. So your SAP Business Suite is nothing but your middle layer. We call it as SAP ECC application example here. So this particular R3 architecture, I call it as SAP Business Suite. Very, 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 very important. Now, we all know that in 2010, okay, the first time in the history of SAP world, we have introduced our own database system, which is called as an in-memory database. We call it as an in-memory database. Is called as SAP HANA. SAP HANA is nothing but a database. So in 2010, we came out with a new database called as SAP HANA database. So we call it is the in-memory. What is the in-memory? In-memory is nothing but now SAP HANA is not a single tenant. SAP HANA is not a single database. It contains the multiple database systems over here. In that, there is a one database called, we call it as the in-memory. In-memory is nothing but we are going to be using as a RAM, random access memory. So apart from the normal regular database where the disk process is going to be happened, but in the in-memory there is no such a kind of disk process. So all the data is going to be retrieved from the in-memory. So I'll discuss more of what is the in-memory in the coming classes, what the SAP HANA database. So 2010 is the year we came out with SAP has an in-memory database. And more important here is we have called it as OLTP plus OLAP database. We call it as OLTP plus OLAP database. Okay. So now when I'm moving on my architect to SAP Business Suite, to any other database, to SAP HANA database. Now, most of the clients, you can see now, most of the clients, they're working on new database now. Okay. Even though the application is going to be resided on ECC, but the database is going to be the SAP HANA database. So now I'm taking a new architect here. If you see, this is the new architect. Your presentation will remain as it is. So there is no change in the presentation. I'm going to be using the same. And your SAP ECC application is also same here. Okay, SAP ECC level application is also going to be the same. But when I came to the database, my database has got migrated. My database has got migrated from any other DB. Means you can take it as Oracle or DBMS or RDBMS or Microsoft database. You can take any database. Now what I'm going to do, I'm migrating the database. See the words, see the sentence which I'm going to be using. These are the very, very important when you are attempting a certification or when you are giving an interview to the interviewer. So very, very important terminologies I'm using here. So these are the very, very important. So here, I'm using the word called as a migration. What is a migration? Migrating the database. Migration is nothing but migrating your database from any other database to SAP HANA database. Very, very important. From any other database to SAP HANA database. See the difference here. See the difference between the two architects. One architect, I call it as the SAP Business Suite. Why? Because your ECC application has been resided on, your ECC application has been stapled on any other database. So this particular architect, I call it as the SAP Business Suite. What is your SAP Business Suite? Your SAP Business Suite is nothing but your application name. Your SAP Business Suite is nothing but your application name. Now, just I'm changing your database. I'm migrating your database from the Oracle database to SAP HANA database. Now, this architect, The second architect, I call it as SAP Business Suite on HANA. See the terminology, very, very important. SAP Business Suite on HANA means, what is the difference here? What is the difference I'm saying here? The only difference is nothing but I have not done any simplifications. I have not done any kind of simplifications at the application level. Your application is the same application. I have not done any technical data structure changes in your application, but only one change is nothing but earlier your database has been resided on Oracle. Now your database has been resided on the new database, which I'm going to be calling it as a HANA database. Now, then it is called as your business suite on HANA, means your SAP business suite is nothing but your middle layer, that is the application. Earlier it is on any DB, so I call it as SAP business suite. Now it has been resided on the new database, so now I'm giving it as SAP business suite on HANA. Second one. Now let us take these two clients. Okay, let us take a client. Okay, I'm taking about a client. Okay, the client name is going to be the Walmart. Okay, a service provided and as a wholesalers and retailers. Okay, I'm taking a Walmart. Now he's a client for me. He's a client for me. We know that Walmart is diversified into various businesses. They are into the services, they are into the retailers and wholesalers, they are into the supply chains. Okay, they are into the multiple chains. Okay, so we know about Walmart. They have many third-party systems they are working, and also they have the SAP ECC server and non-SAP ECC servers. Means they are using the multi-system landscape process. Means it is called as a heterogeneous landscape. So to me, put over here is yes, Walmart, they are not only using SAP, they have the non-SAP systems and they have the SAP ERP systems and they have the ECC system. They are going to be working with multiple systems. Now, when the Walmart came and approaches us, what is the deployment option you are giving to me if I want to move on to the SAP S/4HANA? Yes, see the words. The Walmart is very clear in making us the statement that now they want to work on with SAP S/4HANA. But when you see my landscape, in my IT architect, okay, so I'm using SAP systems, I'm using non-SAP systems, I'm using other ERP database systems, and there are some third-party systems for the tax calculation like Vertex or any other systems. Now, what is the solution you are giving to me if I want to start my journey with SAP S/4HANA? So there are various deployment options are there in SAP S/4HANA. Let me discuss one by one. Okay, so now, before I talk about SAP Central Finance, let me talk about more onto the deployment option. Now, third point. Yes, this is very good. Now, there is one new one which we need to talk over here is nothing but I'm coming out. Okay, most of you know that SAP S/4HANA has introduced in 2011, that is 2015. 2015, that is 2015. In 2015, in the month of November, yes, SAP S/4HANA, a new generation application has been introduced. We call it as a SAP S/4HANA is called as a next generation business suite, which is fully built on in-memory database called as SAP HANA database. So the first next generation business suite, which we call it as a SAP S/4HANA, has been introduced in the year of 2015. So that is called as SAP S/4HANA. We call it as 1511 release. My dear friends, we call it as a 1511 release. The 1511 release is the first SAP S/4HANA release in the market. So it is for both clouds and it is for the both on-premise. What is the difference here, my dear friends? What is the difference between SAP S/4HANA on-premise and the cloud? Anybody? Somebody who is already known about the process of SAP S/4HANA? What is the difference? Let me discuss more onto the differences also in the coming session. Okay, so 2015 is the year. SAP S/4HANA on-premise and cloud version has been released, which we call it as the next generation business suite. Now, the same clients where I'm going to be taking, so he is into the SAP S4, he is into the SAP ECC with SAP Business Suite on HANA. Now, what happens here? Now I'm taking a new architect. Okay, now I'm putting about the new architect here like this. Now you can see the difference. This is called as a new application. Now, your presentation earlier, you're working on GUI. Now I'm changing it to the UI5 application. Very, very important. And there will be application and there will be a database. Okay, now you see the difference here. Very, very important, my dear friend. This is a very, very important. Your presentation is the front end. Yes, we know that. And your database is going to be the same database. Okay, SAP HANA database. And here I'm converting here. See the words I'm using. Okay, see the word I'm using. Here I'm converting your ECC application to the new next generation business suite. We call it as the next generation business suite. We call it as SAP S/4HANA. SAP S/4HANA. Now you can see here means the same clients. Earlier, he is on to the SAP Business Suite. After we introduced the SAP HANA database, so what he has done the DB migration from the Oracle DB to the SAP HANA DB. Now, after we came out with SAP S/4HANA, which is an on-premise and the cloud release. Now the same client, he is moving from SAP ECC application to SAP S/4HANA application. So here we call it as a migration. Here this is called as a migration. And here we call it as a conversion. See the difference. We call it as a conversion. So converting from your ECC application to SAP S/4HANA application. So there are a lot of advantages are there, my dear friends. A lot of advantages are there. Why the client has to go from SAP ECC to SAP S/4HANA? Because of the powerful database system, one of the powerful database system where I can have very, very high level of throughput. And the second one, the real-time data replication. And the third one is going to be your in-memory database. Yes, a lot of things are there. Why should I move from any other database to SAP HANA database? Why should I convert my ECC application to SAP S/4HANA applications? So if you see these three diagrams, if you see these three boxes here, these three boxes are completely different. One box I'm calling it as the SAP Business Suite. One box I'm calling it as the SAP Business Suite on HANA. Earlier your database to moving on to the SAP HANA. And the third one, this application, this architect, the name architect, I'm giving it as SAP S/4HANA. SAP S/4HANA is nothing but S stands for suite and 4 is nothing but the fourth generation, which is the new generation, which is the next generation business application now we have been built on for the customers. So before I want to know what is the central finance, the basic understanding is very, 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 very important for me to understand. Yeah, Vidisha, you can raise it. Yeah, you can ask me a doubt. You can unmute and you can ask me a doubt.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, can SAP S/4HANA run on any other database platform, or is it just
SAP S/4HANA is completely built on the in-memory database as an SAP HANA database. No other databases can be supported for SAP S/4HANA. If you want to run on SAP S/4HANA, either it is a cloud version or it is an on-premise release version. HANA database is a mandatory.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Clear, all of you? Now, yes. Now the client is very interested now. Okay, now what are the deployment options you are giving to me? Okay, Mahesh. Okay, tell me about your deployment options. Now the client is very, very important. Okay. Yeah, Ami.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, actually, I apologize.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Now, what are the deployment options? Now, the second most important thing is the client wants to know the deployment options. If I want to start my journey with SAP S/4HANA, if I want to start my journey with SAP S/4HANA, whether I'm an existing client or maybe a new client, okay, can you please provide the difference between how the existing clients can start the journey with SAP S/4HANA and how the new clients, when you take a new customer in the market, you want to start a journey with SAP S/4HANA, what are the deployment options you are going to be providing? We call it as the deployment. Deployment options. One deployment option is nothing but the system conversion. System conversion. Okay. As I told you just now, as I told you in the diagram, in the previous diagram, okay, conversion is nothing but moving from SAP Business Suite to a new application called as SAP S/4HANA application. This is the conversion actually. Conversion is nothing but for the existing customers. Normally, conversion can be happened only for the existing customers, not for the new customers. Existing customers. Who are the existing customers? Who are going to be the existing customers? Existing customers are nothing but the customers who has already started the journey with SAP. The customers who has already started the journey with SAP, they are called as an existing customers. Now, you can put me a question here. Hey, Mahesh, is it a compulsory that? Is it a compulsory that only the ECC customers, only the ECC 6.0 customers can be converted to SAP S/4HANA, or you can tell me whether I am still working on SAP 4.7, 4.6, still older version of SAP S/4HANA. I'm not into the SAP ECC, my dear friend. We have so many clients. We have so many SAP clients like 4.6, 4.7, and we have the SAP ERP client with ECC 6.0. So the conversion is only possible if I want to start the journey with SAP S/4HANA. The conversion is only possible with my existing system should be on SAP ECC. Yes. Point number one. The customer is very clear. So I have the SAP ECC. I have the SAP ECC, and I have the one more server also. That is, I newly acquired a company. Still, they are into the SAP 4.7, 4.7 EE. Okay, 4.7 EE. Now, I want to convert both the systems. I want to convert both the systems to the SAP S/4HANA system. Tell me now, what are the options you are going to be providing? Okay, because when I go and read so many blogs or something, like when I see so many articles, SAP is very clear that SAP ECC customers can convert from ECC to SAP S/4HANA. They never spoken about 4.7 E double customer or 4.6 customer. Now tell me, if you're going to be using the two different systems, I can only convert the SAP ECC, not SAP 4.7? No. You can convert both the systems into the SAP S/4HANA system. That is nothing but conversion. But before you do the conversion, make sure that the conversion is only possible. The conversion is only possible if your system is on SAP ECC, not with 4.7 EE. Very, very important. Okay. Then what is the problem? Then what is the option you're going to be providing me if still I am into the 4.7? So for this, what I'm telling here is what the SAP is also clearly tell that you should do one more project before you do the system conversion. You have to upgrade your 4.7 EE to ECC 6.4. First, you complete this assignment. First, you complete this project before you do the system conversion. SAP 4.7 EE upgrading. See the project which I'm going to be using. Upgrading project. This is called as upgradation project. I'm upgrading from SAP ECC 6.0. So this complete. First, you complete this assignment. This is the project actually. Before you want to migrate, before you want to convert the system from SAP ECC to SAP S/4HANA. Yes, my dear friends, anybody had chatted anything in the blog, you can directly talk to me. You can unblock and you can talk to me. Friends, if you have any doubts, you can unmute your call and you can talk to me. I can clarify your doubts. Okay, so no doubts. So for the first server, there is no issue because already the customer is on SAP ECC, but the second server, there is a problem. Okay, why? Because 4.7 EE conversion cannot be done from SAP to SAP S4HANA. So what we have to do, you have to do the upgradation, upgrade the 4.7 to 4. ECC 6.1. When should I do this upgradation? Whether I can start today? No. Never do the upgradation in the mid of the financial year. No, it is not recommended from the SAP that upgradation should not be done in the mid of the year. So once you complete the year-end closing activities, once you complete your year-end closing activities, then you can start the upgradation. So upgradation can only be done after you complete the financial year closing activity. Financial year closings means after, maybe if your financial year is from Jan to December, after you complete the December, after you complete the year-end closing activities, then you can start doing the upgradation. Why? Because now 4.7 data structure is completely different from the ECC 6.0 data structure. Lot of tables have been enhanced. Lot of Flagel Flexa tables, new tables have been introduced for all the balances, customer balance, vendor balance, and the GL balance. If you see, the data structure has been completely changed from 4.7 to ECC 6.0. So it is not advised or it is not a recommended where you can start your upgradation in the mid of the year. No, you should only do after the completing of your year-end closing activities. So after you do the upgrade, after you do the system upgrade from 4.7 to ECC 6.0, then both the systems, then I convert both the systems. Then what I will do, I take this system and I take your next system. Both the systems I can convert to SAP. I can convert to SAP S4 HANA. One system and the other system. S4 HANA. Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is Amir.
Yes.
Sorry for asking this. So these are two ERPs, SAP ECC2, ECC 6.0, and SAP 4.7 EE, right?
Yeah.
So these are two ERPs. So for central finance, can't you use the MDG to convert entire into S4 HANA?
Very good question, sir. I'm coming to your question. I'm coming to your answer. Okay, so very good question actually. So that is the question actually. I'm going to be blocked. I'll answer your question just within 5 minutes. You will get an answer for that.
Thank you.
Because I'm okay. So just this question you asked very forward. Okay, so that your question can be answered now in the coming. Okay, see here. Okay, now I'll take up your question. Okay, now this is how the first one, conversion. Now, is it a mandatory? Okay, hey Mahesh, tell me one thing. Okay, but this is I understand that. Okay, so only ECC system can be converted to the SAP S4HANA. But now I don't think this is the right choice for my company, because not only we have the ECC, not only we have the 4.7, we have non-ERP platforms. We have the non-ERP software also. Can you provide me one single instant solution for my question here? Can you please provide me a solution where, because I'll tell you the reason here, when it comes to the month-end closing activities, definitely when it comes to the month-end closing activities, it is becoming a very big headache for my consultants or my users. They have to consolidate, means every month-end closing activity has to be done in each and every server. So when I want to have a total consolidation, so I need to have the consolidations of all the financial closing activities from all the systems. Then I have to do the manual consolidation in the Excel sheet. Then I have to go for the reporting purpose, because it is a heterogeneous landscape. It is a heterogeneous landscape. Is it no other solution is available? It is only the one system conversion solution you are providing to me. no other solution, because this conversion cannot be happen. I'm very much sure that this conversion, whatever the conversion you are taking, you can only do the conversion to the SAP business suite or maybe the SAP servers, not the non-ERP servers. But what happened to my non-ERP servers? Shall I close them and shall I start with SAP S4 as a greenfield implementation? No, it is not the right term for me. So what is the system? What is the SAP is giving you? There is a one option is there which is called as a sidecar approach, where I can call it as a sidecar approach. Where I'm going to be calling it as a sidecar approach. What is the sidecar approach? The sidecar approach we call it as a central finance. Okay, central finance. Central finance can only work on SAP S4HANA. Central finance can only work on with SAP S4HANA only. Okay, how it works? Let me take you the example here. Let me take you the example. Now, I'm taking a new PPT here. You have understand about what is the system conversion by this time. What is the system conversion? System conversion is nothing from SAP ECC to SAP S4HANA. If the existing client has only one system, then I can convert your system and I can give the system conversion. I can give a new SAP S4HANA box to you. If a customer is a new customer, till now he has not started his journey with SAP S4HANA. Till now he has not started the journey. Neither from SAP ECC, neither from 4.7, nothing. He's a very new customer to me. Now he wants to start the journey with SAP S4HANA. So what is the option you're going to be providing? I can call it as a greenfield implementation. Very, very important. Very, very important. I can call him where I'm taking a new customer now. Okay. Okay, I can give the option called as a greenfield implementation. It's a new complete field greenfield implementation. Okay. Greenfield implementation. What is a greenfield implementation? Greenfield implementation is nothing but, okay, I'm developing a system as per the business process from the scratch. So from the scratch is nothing but from the phase of discovery. I'm following a roadmap and I'm following a methodology called as activate methodology. There should be some methodology has to be followed for any project. It is not only the project. If you're manufacturing a product also, you need to follow some methodologies. Okay, so you cannot directly start and you cannot directly end. Okay, so there should be some phases will be done for a manufacturing of a product. Also in the same way, when you're constructing a project, when you're constructing a bridge, or when you're constructing a dam, or when you're constructing a complex, a new complex, you will follow some methodology. You will follow some roadmap for each and every phase. What are the activities I have to do? In the same way, in SAP also, we have some methodologies to be followed. So now in SAP S4HANA, we have a new methodology called as activate methodology. Activate methodology. Okay, so I'm not going to discuss more on this activate methodology because this is the methodology we are going to be using in the coming classes. We discuss more on activate methodology, but this is a demo. Just I'm giving some part of introduction to the activate. Okay, so activate methodology. In this activate methodology, there are two processes are there. One is called as agile process. Second one is called as the waterfall methodology. Very, very important. The same agile, in the same activate. So are you using the agile process and waterfall, or you're using both? So anyone. So I'm using agile. Waterfall is no more available in activate methodology. So what are the phases you're using? Okay, just forget about the activate methodology. How the phases you're going to be starting for a greenfield implementation? Very good. So the phases look like this. So when you want to start a new project with SAP S4HANA, when a customer is starting a journey with SAP S4HANA, the first I need to go for the discover phase. Once the discover has been completed, I'll go for the prepare phase. Once the prepare phase has been completed, I'll go for the explore. Once explore has completed, realize. And the last one, we call it as the deploy. So discover, prepare, realize, explore, realize, and deploy. Yeah, Amir.
Yeah, so Mahesh, one more question, sorry.
Yeah.
This is a greenfield implementation, so that's a good from the agile perspective. But what happens in the case of a brownfield implementation or um, where
Yes,
you
very good.
couldn't
Actually,
convert
in
it?
the brownfield implementation, when you are doing a system conversion from SAP ECC to here, when I take this brownfield implementation, now you are converting your SAP ECC to SAP S/4HANA. So here, there is a called as separate roadmap we are going to be following. Why? Because there will be two phases will be there. One is going to be called as the pre-conversion phase, and the second one is going to be called as the post-conversion phase. There will be two phases will be there from the SAP ECC to SAP S/4HANA. One is called as the pre-conversion phase, and the second one is going to be called as the post-conversion phase. So these are the two phases we have for the brownfield implementation. Brownfield is nothing but system conversion. Greenfield implementation is nothing but starting your project from the discovery phase. We all know that, okay? So in this brownfield implementation, when you take a conversion, we have two phases. One is the pre-conversion phase. In the pre-conversion phase, you are making the system to be ready for the conversion. So what are all the activities? Okay, in the pre-conversion phase, we need to look out for the system requirements, and we need to have this. Okay, when we are going to be running the business application programmings, we are running the standalone report. We are checking all the SAP readiness check before you do the system conversion. So these all the activities we'll do in the pre-conversion. Post conversion is nothing but after your system has been converted to the SAP S4 HANA. So there are some activities from the finance side we need to do before we do the go live. Before we do the go live, some post conversion activities has to be done. You have to prepare for the general ledger. You have to prepare for the asset accounting, controlling metal ledger. So all these preparations, and you have to do the migration to the old data structure to the new data structure. These all the activities I will do in the post conversion phase. Once the post conversion has been successfully completed, then I will go for the go live. So in this system conversion, we have two phases. One is going to be called as a pre-conversion, and the second one is going to be called as a post-conversion phase. Clear, sir? No? Clear now? Your doubt has clarified?
Yeah, that's clear. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. So,
Thanks.
so these are the phases over the greenfield implementation. Greenfield implementation here. Okay. This is the second deployment option. First deployment option is nothing but a system conversion, and the second deployment option is nothing but your greenfield implementation. And there is a one more deployment option is also called as landscape transformation. There are totally three deployment options you are going to be calling. See, my dear friends, transition is completely different between the deployment option. So don't confuse between the transition scenarios and the deployment option. Transition scenarios are completely different from the deployment. I'll discuss more on to the difference between the deployment and the transition. This is the third one I'm going to be taking. Okay, this is the transitions. Okay, so we are going to be using here. Okay, so on-premise is there, and the cloud is going to be one deployment option. We call it as on-premise. Second deployment option is called as a cloud, and third one is going to be called as a deployment option. We call it as a hybrid. Hybrid is nothing but it is a combination of both on-premise and the clouds. Some part of your applications are working on hybrid. Some part of your applications are working on on-premise, and some part of applications are working on cloud. So the combination of both on-premise and the cloud is going to be called as the hybrid. So deployment option. So one is going to be called as on-premise. Second one is going to be called as the cloud. And in this cloud also we have two versions. One is the private cloud, another one is the public cloud. We discuss all these things, okay? The third one is going to be called as a hybrid. So these are the deployment options. Now, whatever we are going to be discussing, these are going to be called transition scenarios, like system conversion, greenfield implementation, landscape transformation. These all are nothing but the transition scenarios. Where the deployment options, we have on-premise, one of the deployment option, cloud as a deployment option, and hybrid as a deployment option. Okay. So the last one we called it as the landscape transformation. This landscape transformation is nothing but your consolidated, means you're converting all your systems in landscape. You have a development client, you have a quality client, you have a production client. Okay, if you take your system landscape, you have different systems are there in a one landscape process: development system, quality and assurance system, and the production system. So you are combining, means you are consolidating, you are migrating all the systems to the SAP S/4HANA, which is called as a landscape transformation process. This is the three transition scenarios, and these are the three deployment options you have. Apart from these three transition, we have a new transition scenario. We call it as a central finance. We call it as a central finance. The central finance is nothing but is a reporting system. Actually, central finance is nothing but mainly the agenda of the central finance is going to be for the reporting purpose. You are not supposed to do any kind of postings. We are not doing any kind of postings in the central finance. Central finance is only meant for the centralized reporting purpose. Means if I take a client, okay, if I take a customer, okay, now the customer, he is having SAP ECC server, and he's having SAP 4.7 server, and he is having the SAP non-SAP ECC servers. Very, very important. Now see the word here. Now, these are the three systems where I'm going to be calling them as the source systems. Source. Business systems. Source systems. Very, very important. So one of the source system is nothing but your SAP ECC. One of your source system is nothing but your SAP 4.7. And one of the system is going to be a non-SAP systems. Non-SAP systems. Very good. When you take such a clients, when you take such a kind of customers, now either you cannot go for the system conversion now because they have the multi-system. The project duration is going to be very, very high. It may take up to 3 to 4 years also, because all the three systems are completely different. I cannot go for the conversion project, and I cannot go for the greenfield implementation. Why? Because already the client has invested a lot of amount on different servers. He is going to do a lot of investment. He is going to, so the operational systems are going to be very, very high for them. It's completely called as a heterogeneous landscape. Now, what is the problem here is every client, they're facing a lot of problem when they have the heterogeneous landscape. So they need to have a separate month-end closing activities in the ECC. They have to go for separate month-end closing activities in SAP 4.7, and they have to go for month-end closing activities in non-SAP systems. So every system is independent in nature. So what is happening finally, if I want to consolidate, it is becoming a very big headache to me, because month-end closing activities are very headache because I'm using it because of heterogeneous landscape. Now the client is asking me, can you provide me a solution where I can get all the reportings in one system? Final gunshot, I want to have everything in a one reporting system. Now, what is the problem? The problem here is nothing but the client doesn't want to go with SAP S/4HANA directly, but he wants to work with SAP S/4HANA. Is there any solution? Because if I take this greenfield implementation, I had to completely shut down all your applications, existing applications, and I had to go with a new application. That is not a very good advice to them. And there is one more transition scenario we are going to be calling it is called as the system conversion. If I want to do the system conversion, I can only do the system conversion from SAP ECC to SAP S/4HANA, or I can do the upgrade to the 4.7 to ECC, then I can go for the SAP S/4HANA. But what happened to the non-SAP ERP platform? I cannot go for the system conversion from SAP S/4HANA. No, it cannot be done.
What I have a query. What about the sidecar approach?
The sidecar approach now I'm discussing. This is what exactly we call it as a central finance.
So is sidecar approach the only way where we can convert this heterogeneous system to SAP S/4HANA?
Yeah, I'm not going to do the conversion here. I'm not going to do the conversion. I'm replicating your postings from various heterogeneous postings to the one single instance system called as SAP S/4HANA. So this is what exactly I call it as a sidecar approach. The technical terminology, I'm using it as a central finance.
All right.
Okay, now, yes. Now there is a solution here. Okay, now I'm asking the client to take a license of SAP S4 HANA. Very good. Now I'm asking a system. Now I'm asking a client to take the license of SAP S4 HANA. Now your SAP S4 HANA is called as a central finance system. No, your source systems are only sending the data. You are only getting the replicating the data from the source system to the SAP S4 HANA. So what I'm going to do here, this source system to the new target system. This is called as my target system, which I called as SAP. Very, very important, my dear friends. These are all the important things. What happens at the finally, we have to be very, very technically. Okay, so SAP S4 HANA. This is the new system I'm going to be taking the license. Very, very important. Either you can go with 1709 or 1809. Okay, there is some differences are there. Okay, this is called as my target system. Okay, very good. Okay, so I have taken the license of SAP S4 HANA now. So what happened with source system? Are you going to remove the source systems? No, I'm not going to remove your source system because you're not accepting, because you're not going with a greenfield implementation as present. Okay, so you're using this sidecar approach for the reporting purpose. Now what I will do, you will get all the reports, whatever the individual, whatever the reports, whatever the month end closing activities or year end closing activities, or whatever the closing activities you do in ECC in 4.7 or non-SAP system. Now, after I introduce this central finance, no need to do all these activities in each and every system. Now you can do all the closings in SAP S4 HANA directly. Now, why? Because I'm replicating all your transactions. I'm replicating all your transaction from the source system to the target system. So there one more license I should be needed, that is going to be called as SLT. Okay, why? Because there should be some middleware. Now without the middleware, I cannot bring your transaction. So this is going to be called as SLT server. SLT. SLT. System Landscape Transmission Server or Replication Server, we call it as. Okay, this is the license system. Okay, this is SAP tool. Actually, this is an SAP tool. We require this. Now, what I'm going to do here is, I need to have the interfaces. So what I'm going to do, okay, now I'm going to be constructing the interface like this. Okay. Yes. From SAP to SLT, from 4.7 to SLT, and from the non-SAP system to SLT. These SAP servers I can directly do with RFC connection. Okay, RFC. I'll tell you what it is RFC and everything. 4.7 also I can do with RFC connectivity. Okay, RFC. And for non-SAP to SLT, RFC cannot be work. So I need to use the called as, I need to use, okay, the different one which is going to be called as Smart Data Access. Smart Data Access. Okay, I'll tell you what is the Smart Data Access. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to be replicating. Now this SLT is getting finally interface with your SAP S4 HANA like this. Yes. This is the architect. This is the complete architect. I'm calling it as SAP Central Finance Architect. Now I take you some technicality level here. There is a one slide which I brought to all of you. This is what exactly you can see here. This is how the Central Finance Architect look like this. Okay. So these all are nothing but your source system. These all are nothing but the source systems, and this is nothing but your SLT layer, and this is what exactly the Central Finance box. Now I'm interfacing. Yes, sir. Amir.
Quick question. Is that SLT is the replication server, right?
SLT is the replication server.
Okay, thank you.
SLT is a replication server. Very good, sir. SLT is a replication server. Now, before I go with SAP replication server, okay, now if I take a new PPT, yeah. Now, one option is nothing but, very, very important. One option is nothing but, you have the non-SAP and SAP systems. Okay, if I take a one non-SAP system and one SLT system and one SAP S4 HANA system, this is the one process. Okay, very, very important. See the differences here. This is what SAP ECC. SAP ECC, and this is your SLT, and this is your SAP S4 HANA. This is one landscape. Okay, where your SLT is acting as a middle layer between the ECC to, okay, where your SLT is acting as a middle layer between the SAP ECC to SAP S4 HANA. Okay, yes, this is one process. The second process is nothing but you have the ECC system and you have the SAP S4 HANA system. Okay, very good. And you have the SAP S4 HANA. Okay, where is the SLT? SLT I can install on the top of your ECC system. This is one of the options. On the top of your SAP ECC. This is what exactly I'm going to be doing now. This is your SLT. Okay, this SLT is getting interface with your SAP S4 HANA. This SLT is getting interface between the SAP to SAP S4 HANA. Okay, like this. And third option is also there. Third option is nothing but you have the SAP ECC and you have the SAP S4 HANA. I'm going to be taking the classes on both the three systems, okay, in the Center Finance, all the three. In the interview, they may be asking you whether you have the SLT, what type of landscape can you put a diagram on the paper, means you have to explain like this. Now the SLT I can have on the top of your SAP S4 HANA application also. You can see here. This is how, okay, this is what exactly I'm going. This is going to be called as your SLT. Either you can use SLT as a middle layer. This is the first one. Either you can install SLT on the top of your SAP ECC, or either you can have the SLT on the top of your SAP S4 HANA. How we are going to be doing? Okay, so this is very, 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 very important for us. This is very, 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 very important for us to understand here. So depends upon the requirement, we are going to discuss whether the SLT can be the middle layer or SLT can be on the top of your ECC or the SAP can be on the top of your S4 HANA. No, but anyhow, SLT is going to be the required. Without the SLT, I cannot go for the Center Finance. Without SLT, I cannot go for the Center Finance. So SLT is playing the major role for me to integrate between the ERP platforms or non-ERP platforms to my SAP S4 HANA platform. So what happens? First of all, what I will do, I will load all the data to my SAP S4 HANA. Means you have all the balances. Tomorrow I'm going as a go live. For example, let us assume that tomorrow is August 23rd, 24th. Okay, I'm going at go live. Before you go the go live, whatever the balances you have in ECC, whatever the balances I have in 4.7, whatever the balances, first of all, what I will do the initial upload. The first price is nothing but my initial upload. I take you through all this initial upload, how the initial uploads and replications of RFC and what is the AF, application interface framework, error corrections are there. I'll discuss more on that in our SAP S4 HANA finance class, central finance classes. First of all, what I will do here, I will do the initial upload of all the balances to my SAP S4 HANA. Once I complete this balance upload, then I will start the replication. Replication is nothing but, for example, I'll take, okay, let me remove this, okay, if you don't mind, my dear students, can I remove this? Yeah, I just removing, okay. Now, yes, when you take an SAP ECC system, I'll do all the mapping, okay. There should be some mapping should be done, my dear friend. Mapping is very, very important here. Mapping is very, 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 very important, okay. Mapping the fields between, now for example, if I take a customer, okay, now I'll take one customer here, okay. The customer number in ECC, is 1234. 1234. but the same customer number in my SAP S4 HANA is 3456. I need to do the mapping actually. First of all, I need to complete the mapping between these two customers. Okay, the customer is going to be the same, but when I come to the customer number in ECC, there is a different number, and my central finance system in my SAP S4 HANA, there is a different number. Customer is going to be the same. You have to do this mapping actually. Not only mapping, you have to do the mapping of all the fields, GL account number to GL account number, document type to document type. Okay, you have to map all the fields about the text and everything. Mapping has to be done. The second thing most important is nothing but mapping. I need to do the mapping because we are going to discuss all these mappings in the central finance classes. More different because this is the demo. Just I'm explaining on the overview how the central finance is going to be work. Once I complete this mapping of the fields in the SLT, once I complete all these mappings in the SLT between the three source system, okay, now what I will do, I'll start doing the replication. Posting is nothing but the transaction. Let us example. Now I'm posting one transaction in SAP ECC. See, for example, I'm posting one transaction called as vendor invoice or something like. Okay, so what is happening? Okay, the vendor account will become the credit, and my GRIR clearing account, there is a concept called as the GRIR clearing account. So I'm taking a GRIR clearing account. Okay, so this account will become the debit and this account will become the credit. This is an accounting entry. Now I'm posting in one of the source system. This is one of the source system. Once this accounting entry has got posted in the source system, what this SLT will do, it will trigger. There will be three interfaces will be there. One is going to be called as FICO postings. There will be three interfaces will be there. FICO postings, CO postings, and cost object replications. Cost object replicate. These are the three interfaces we have. So once this transaction has got posted in SAP ECC or in 4.7 anything, so what this SLT automatically it will trigger, the database will be triggered here. So normally the SLT will be connected to the databases. So I'll remove this. Normally the SLT will be connected to your databases actually like this. Okay, the SLT will be connected to your databases. So this is the database of your ECC. Okay, like this, it will be connected to the RFC. This is the DB. This is the DB database. We call it as a DB database. Okay, it's a non-ERP database or ERP, whatever the database we are going to be using. Now, this transaction has got posted in SAP ECC. Once the transaction has updated in the DB, the SLT will trigger this. SLT will trigger the database and it will take these transactions, very, very important. And it will take these transactions from the DB and it will do the mapping in the SLT. Once the technical mapping has been successfully completed, what this SLT will do, it will outbound. Okay, it will outbound this interface, this accounting transaction to my SAP S4 HANA. Okay, it will. So through an accounting interface, this accounting entry, vendor account to the GRIR clearing account will be outbounded to my SAP S4 HANA. So once this has been outbounded to my SAP S4 HANA, where there is a concept called as AAF, Application Interface Framework. This AF, what it will do, it will do all the error corrections, whether the mapping has been successfully completed, whether there are any mandatory fields are missing. If I want to post this transaction in my SAP HANA database, this AF, what it will do all this kind of error corrections. If once the error corrections has been successfully done, now there are no errors, then what this SAP will do, it will go and post the transaction. It will go and post the transaction in SAP HANA database. So if you see here, this is the database. This is the database. SAP HANA database. Now I can see the transaction has got replicated from SAP ECC to SLT. From the SLT, the mapping has been done. Now the SLT will outbound this mapping, outbound this transaction to the SAP S4HANA. In SAP S4HANA, this all the AF activity completed. Once the AF activity completed, now I can see the same document. I can see the posting is happened in my SAP S4HANA also. Now in my SAP HANA database. So I'm not doing any kind of postings, my dear friends. I'm not going to do any kind of postings in my SAP HANA database, in SAP S4HANA. I can only receive the data. I can only replicate the transaction from the various source system to my target system, which is going to be called as SAP S4HANA. So now what happens? Now, whatever the transactions you're posting in various systems, all the transactions are getting replicated and get posted to my SAP S4HANA from today. So what happened? This central finance system, tomorrow, if I want to go, tomorrow, what I will do, if I want to do any kind of reporting or month-end closing activity or year-end closing activity, what I will do here is, okay, what I will do here is, I will use the central finance system as my reporting purpose from today onwards. I'll use this central finance system as a reporting because I can see now all the transactions have been replicated and got posted to my SAP S4HANA through the concept called as an SLT. Okay, this SLT will trigger all the transaction to my SAP S4HANA. Now I can see my database has been completely how all the transactions have been centralized. Now I will use this SAP S4HANA for all the reporting purpose. Earlier, I'm using all the ERP systems and non-ERP system for the reporting. I had to do the consolidation in the month end. Now, no need to do any kind of consolidation. All the consolidation can be happened in one single system called as SAP S4HANA system. And my dear friends, I can also come across here. Now, when I'm posting a transaction, now I can easily, if I open the transaction in my SAP S4HANA, I can easily understand from this system, the transaction has got posted to my SAP S4HANA. The complete architect, we call it as SAP S4HANA. This is how the landscape look like. This is how the architect is going to look like for the posting of the transaction to my central finance system. The central finance system is nothing but your SAP S4HANA is going to be called as. So here what I done, AF error handling will be done. Once the AF error handling has completed, your through the accounting interface, the database will be get updated to the Universal General Entry Table, AC DOCA table, which is called as Universal General Entry Table. So how this is? This is how the data will be flow, and this is how the SLT is getting connected to your ERP and non-ERP systems to my SLT system to my SAP S4HANA system. So our classes going to be on typically on this structure. No, I'm not going to, because this is the completely central finance classes. So here in the coming sessions, we are going to discuss more how to build this ECC systems, how to build this SAP SLT will be done by your basis consultant, not by technical, not by the functional, not by you or not by me. Or your basis consultants are going to set up this SLT because it's a completely technical approach. No functional people are going to be involved. But in our classes, I'm going to show the technicality. I'm going to discuss more on the SLT process, how the mapping and how this SLT is constructed and how this accounting interfaces are going to be done to the source system. And once we are done, and what activities I had to do in the central finance before I go for the goal, how the structures are going to be done, how these mappings are going to be done, how this error handling is going to be done, how the accounting interface is going to be done, how the documents are getting posted. So this is the total concept of central finance system for the reporting purpose for my friend. This is how the central finance is going to be working. So what I'm telling to the client, don't delete, don't remove your source system. Let the source system should work as it is, but you have to take a license of new SAP S4HANA as a centralized process for the reporting purpose. So the client is asking me, can I post any transactions in SAP S4HANA? No, you're not supposed to post any kind of transactions in SAP S4HANA. Your central finance system, SAP S4HANA system is only meant for the reporting purpose, not for any kind of transaction posting over here. So now this is how your centralized process are getting updated. All the transactions are getting updated into one system for all the reporting purpose. This is how the central finance is going to be work. The coming classes, how to develop this central finance and how the postings are getting replicated, how the reporting is going to be work. we are going to discuss in the coming classes as a sessions over here as a part of central finance classes. So we have various transition scenarios. We have one of the transition scenario is called as your central finance. Clear?
Yeah.
Ami, yes,
yes.
Amir.
Are you going to be sharing this PowerPoint slide? This deck?
Yeah, my support will tell, because this is okay. You will get all these PowerPoints and everything. This is what exactly okay. We need to talk with the service support. The support team is there, a Xerantech support team, so they will give you all the class, because I'm only the faculty over here to take the classes. Okay, so the remaining all the sharings and everything will be done by the support team.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So this is whatever the classes. So we are not touching the system conversion project. So we have various, okay, as I told you that these are the various projects are there. This is the project we are going to discussing on the system conversion, and this is the project we are discussing as the greenfield implementation, and this is the project we are going to be talking it as a SLT process. So there are three projects are the system conversion, greenfield implementation, and this is the central finance. So in Xerantech, I am taking all these three classes actually. So this is the first very new batch for the central finance I am taking in the Xerantech. Already existing batches are going on with the conversion and the greenfield implementation. So your batch is mainly focusing on the central finance classes. Any doubts? Is it clear to all of you now? How the central finance and what is the how the central finance is going to be working and what is it. So tomorrow maybe okay, our support team will give the actual dates for the start of the session 1. So we are going to start the central finance classes. The central finance classes will be 20 to 21 sessions will be there every day. 1.5 hour class will be there. So 21 sessions will be there for the central finance classes.
Thank you, Mahesh.
I think Madhu has some question. It was like, as you mentioned that there will not be any postings in central finance. In central finance, we have the option called central payments. Also, we have central closing in CFIN.
Exactly. Now, whatever the invoices have been posted to the central finance means it is replicated. Now, we have the central payment process, which is the new from the 1709. The central payment process are going to be happened. That is not the posting in the central finance. Now, whatever the clearing document you are sending from the source system to the target system, automatically the clearing document from the source system, it will go and it will clear that invoice which you have posted to the central finance system. Now the central payments are going to be happen directly in the SAP S4 HANA. That is what we call it as the central payment process. We are not posting any payments. We are not directly posting the payments in central finance. The clearing document which comes from the source system to the target system will clear that invoice as one of the central payment process. Now, this is the new announcement which has been brought in 1709 from the 1709 number. And from the 1809, we have the commitments, we have the tax postings, we have the withholding tax postings, and except the asset accounting, acquisitions and the retirements, except the asset accounting posting, all the central postings can be happened to your central finance system. So in the introduction class, when I'm taking the introduction class, I'm going to, first of all, before I start the central finance classes, I'm going to do some sessions on what are all the replications we are going to do, what are all the replications which cannot be happened in the central finance. So that is the first session. There you will get a complete clearing idea, okay, what transaction can be replicated, what transaction cannot be replicated over there. Okay, thank you very much.